India made a terrible mistake and went on to say they, quote, now have to pay the price.
Terrorists. Pakistan's prime minister described the Indian strikes as an act of war be necessary.
Pakistan is vowing revenge after India launched a series of
Pakistani armed forces blew Indian jets to, quote, Indian officials say Pakistan's military killed 12 people.
Denied any involvement. Fears, though, are mounting that today's attack could severely escalate tension.
India thought they could strike and walk away, but Pakistan just made it clear. There will be consequences. India strikes. Pakistan vows revenge. Jets destroyed. Civilians dead. Nuclear powers on the brink. This isn't just a regional dispute, it's a potential global crisis. And today, we break it all down. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more hard-hitting breakdowns with zero spin. It all started with a massacre. 2 weeks ago, 26 people, mostly Indian tourists, were slaughtered in a scenic area of India-controlled Kashmir. The group behind the attack, a little-known name, Kashmir Resistance, an offshoot of the notorious Lashkar-e-Taiba, the same group that orchestrated the brutal 2008 Mumbai attacks. Though the group initially claimed responsibility online, they later walked it back, fueling suspicions and deepening tensions. India didn't hesitate. They launched strikes deep inside Pakistan, claiming to target terrorist infrastructure linked to that deadly rampage. But what India calls a response, Pakistan is calling an act of war. And now, the world is bracing for what comes next. Here's what Pakistan is saying. They're denying everything.
Pakistan has denied any
Transcript reveals the Prime Minister insists that India's claims of cross-border terrorism are baseless. Instead, Pakistan's narrative flips the script, claiming that they were the victims of aggression. Their leaders argue
Terrorists. Pakistan's prime minister described the Indian strikes as an act of...
And then comes the fiery rhetoric.
India made a terrible mistake and went on to say they, quote, now have to pay the...
While the world pleads for calm, Pakistan is painting India as the reckless aggressor, despite the horrific massacre that started it all. But their outrage is missing one thing: accountability. Let's be honest, people are angry on both sides of the border, but the facts don't lie. India says it was responding to a deadly attack that claimed the lives of dozens of innocent people. Their target? Terrorist camps inside Pakistan. And what did Pakistan do?
Or be necessary.
Pakistan is vowing revenge after India launched a series of airstrikes, claiming it was targeting...
But instead of de-escalation, they doubled down, and claiming they
forces blew Indian jets to, quote, Smith
and killed 12 Indian civilians in artillery fire along the border. Yet despite these bold claims, India hasn't even confirmed whether any planes were hit. Only French intelligence suggests that.
Confirms at least one was shot down.
Pakistan's narrative of moral superiority begins to crumble when you consider the group behind the original attack is linked to Lashkar-e-Taiba, the same terrorist network that has haunted India for over a decade. And let's not forget the geography of this conflict. Kashmir, the most militarized region on Earth, but is a powder keg that's now teetering on the edge. As former CIA Director Leon Panetta warned,
there is truly the danger of escalation here, and that should concern everybody in the world.
This is no longer about border skirmishes. This is about two nuclear nations, backed by global powers like China and the United States, heading straight into a showdown. And while Pakistan cries foul, it refuses to address the one thing that started all of this: the bloodbath in Kashmir. This isn't just a border spat anymore. This is global. Here's the bombshell. Both India and Pakistan are nuclear-armed nations, and both are now playing a dangerous game of escalation. Former U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta didn't hold back.
There have always been tensions between India and Pakistan. They go back to 1947 when India was partitioned into India and Pakistan. There have been several wars that we've seen take place in the interim. I don't think either Pakistan or India wants to go into a full-fledged war, but when you're in a game of tit for tat, and there's no question now that Pakistan will probably respond to what India did, there is truly the danger of escalation here, and you never know how this thing could escalate.
This isn't just about missiles and mortar shells. It's about a region where one miscalculation could spark nuclear retaliation. And there's more. China, a key ally of Pakistan, the
Kashmir, that spot on the map shaded in blue,
transcript says, is a reminder that Beijing isn't a bystander. It's a stakeholder. And while China arms Pakistan and tries to build bridges with India, it finds itself has found itself in a diplomatic tight spot too. China also controls a portion of... Meanwhile, President Trump's message.
We get along with both countries very well, good relationships with both, and I want to see it stop. And if I can do anything to help, I will I will be there.
But words aren't enough. School children across India are now doing emergency drills. Sirens blare. Desks become shields.
Preparation, many hope, is reserved for the worst case scenario and will never be necessary.
Pakistan is vowing.
This is not a drill. This is a global crisis unfolding in real time. Let's be clear, the idea that Pakistan is merely defending itself doesn't hold up. When confronted with facts, here's how they responded.
India made a terrible mistake and went on to say they, quote, now have to pay the.
That's not diplomacy, that's a threat, and that threat isn't backed up by innocence. It's backed up by a history of cross-border violence and terrorist ties. The group that triggered all this, Kashmir Resistance, is linked to Lashkar-e-Taiba, the same group behind the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Even the transcript acknowledges this.
To back the group is an offshoot of the Islamist terrorist group Lashkar-e.
But when called out, Pakistan chose denial, escalation, revenge. And now, 12 dead on India's side, jets downed, cities on edge, and the world watching nervously as two nuclear-armed countries dig their heels in. Leon Panetta made it crystal clear.
We have got to exercise some leadership, frankly, working with our allies to try to make sure that we can try to preserve the peace that the whole way. This is not a pretty please situation. This is a situation where you got to roll up your sleeves and actually engage.
Pakistan has a choice: escalate and isolate, or de-escalate and cooperate. So far, they've chosen the path of fire, and as Pakistan vows to make India pay the price, one thing is clear: the time for empty threats is over. If you found this breakdown raw and real, smash that subscribe button. We're here to call out the spin, expose the double standards, and tell it exactly how it is. Because in a world this dangerous, there's no room for lies.